Hi there, this is Carol King, the founder and developer of Custom Homebuilders Solutions, a job costing and accounting program specifically tailored to custom home builders. In this video, I am going to try to quickly talk about something that can really be an accounting headache for home builders. If you happen to have in-house employees instead of subcontractors that perform labor, like maybe framing labor or cabinets labor, etc., that needs to be billed to a job at a higher rate than what you actually pay to the people that perform the labor, how do you handle that in accounting? Since you will not actually be paying that higher rate to the employee, how do you get it to show up on your books as a job cost that your cost plus customers will see? How do you handle that? Now maybe you might think, of course, I'm going to have to just do in a journal entry and then put so much to my work in progress account that's at a higher rate, and then what other account do I use, to put the credit against that debit? And I'm going to show you how CHS actually really helps you handle that and will create that journal entry for you based on the GL accounts that you tell it to use. So let's get started. Well, before we get started seeing how CHS handles all of this for you real quickly, there's something important that needs to be said. And Nick Schiffer said it on LinkedIn in a little video that he did. And what he said was, don't make the same mistake I made. Self-performing labor, or I'm taking that to mean in-house labor, is a great way to add additional margin to your business. But if you're operating with a cost-plus style contract, then it's important to understand what defined labor rates are and how to include them in your contract. In other words, talk to your attorney and talk about how to tell that cost-plus customer that you will be charging certain labor rates. How that's phrased, I'm not the attorney, but you should make sure you get that into your contract, because if they ask you, if suddenly your customer's asking you to be all open with what you've been paying out money-wise, they might spot that you pay that in-house labor less than what you're billing them, and you need to tell them about that and why right up front is what I think. You can find Nick Schiffer on LinkedIn, and there's a little video that he did about this, and LinkedIn is pretty good at letting you search for certain things like that. So here we go. So first of all, I was trying to find a demo job that I'd had in several other videos so I wouldn't have to do a whole bunch of inputting to demonstrate this concept. So I did find a job called Loveman 2, and I was looking to see if we already had something in framing labor to use in-house framing labor, but they've already posted things that we paid to a sub on that one. So in this video, I scrolled down on this ECC, and I saw that in Cabinets Turnkey, there have been no actual costs posted. So I'm going to be doing this based on Cabinets Turnkey, and I'd like to take a look at the job budget for that for just a minute. Notice that it's Cabinets Turnkey. There are some cost codes that NAHB has and that this builder has called Cabinets Labor and Cabinets Material. So I would bet that if you're doing in-house labor, you would be using a cost code for Cabinets Labor and not Turnkey, and you'd have Cabinets Material and something else. But I'm not sure what you will be doing because I'm not a builder. But we're going to just use the Cabinets Turnkey. So I popped over here on Cabinets Turnkey and I made a note, just basically based on what I just showed you about what Nick was saying about having the labor rates defined in the contract. I put that in the buyer notes that we'll print on the budget proposal about this. And I didn't change this amount that we actually got from basing it on an items report from a subcontractor, by the way. Anyway, let's get over there to the area where we're going to be handling this. I'm going to the payroll menu, which is where we can post things by employee and by job, etc. in CHS. You can post the payroll based on what your payroll service gives you as far as your numbers. Now, if you're not doing in-house labor or you're not doing some billing that you need to mark up, then you may not even use the payroll screen here, and you might post your total payroll just as an adjusting journal entry that you can copy from payroll time to payroll time. We don't calculate the taxes, etc. for you in CHS because so many custom home builders use a payroll service and then get the information that can be input into CHS. But I did make a screen where you can post an employee's paycheck with all the taxes and everything else and mark up what you paid them and have it sent off to job costs or your work in progress account usually. Maybe you do a cost of sales. So that's what we're going to look at. So we need to dig into the accounting a little bit to be able to handle what we're trying to attempt to handle, is that we're going to send some stuff to work in progress for our actual custom home job, but we're also going to capture stuff for wages paid for a cabinet department that I set up. And you can set up departments in CHS, and I set up one called cabinets because I'd like to do little income statements for just the cabinet department. As I explain these, I think you're going to understand what I'm doing. First of all, for this employee, he's being paid $35 per hour is the rate that we have in here for him. And then it's asking just where you want to put the wage, the $35 an hour wage, on your chart of accounts. And on my chart of accounts, I have set up a section called Cost of Sales Cabinets, and I have 2 or 3 accounts in it. And I just called this one Cabinet Self-Performing Labor. You might do Cabinets In-House Labor or Cabinets In-House Salaries or whatever you like. Talk to your accountant about this. But I have that under a Cost of Sales for Cabinets. And that's where I want the base cost to go that I pay him. Then it's saying, where do I want to post employer tax expenses? And I set up one under Cost of Sales Cabinets for cabinets payroll taxes. And I'm saying I want, when I do a new journal entry, the things for this guy to default to these various things. And you'll see how they're used in a minute. That's just basic accounting there. Now maybe this person does framing and cabinets, and you have some department that, and other stuff, maybe your labor does other stuff, and you're running all of that and doing this marked up billable stuff for them. You might not even call it cabinets. I'm just doing that because that's an area I could work with for this demo, but you might have in-house labor department or in-house, I don't know what, you're the builder. So in this case, I have a cost code for cabinets turnkey. So when I send the higher rate out to a job cost entry that's going to show up for the custom home customer, I want it to go to that cost code. I want that to be the default. And when I do it, I want it to be marked up 100%. In other words, it's going to go out and be a cost for the custom homes at $70 per hour, basically. Then I want to know what GL account to use for that, and that's my work in progress account for custom homes, and I selected that, and that's where the higher amount will be posted, and a debit will go there. And then I want to tell it, where do I want the credit to go? So the credit, if you think about it, is really cabinets income. It's going to be this higher amount at $70 per hour. And so I set up under cabinets income financial group, I made a general ledger account called cabinets income. And you'll see how nice all of this stuff comes out on a little income statement for the cabinets department. And I do want him to default to cabinets. Now CHS, based on what custom home job you're doing that you select when you're entering it, will post to the department that goes for that job this higher amount that goes to $14.30. It will go to, probably, in our case, the custom homes department. That's what happens when you sort of have things mixed up in there and you don't have a separate company maybe for paying for cabinets. So let's close that and let's go over to where we create a journal entry for him. And I'm going to come right back because I'm going to go ahead and fill in a lot of it so that you don't have to watch me do all that. And then I'll explain what I filled in. Okay, so I'm back. And this is the window where you're entering the stuff from your payroll service company or however you like to do it. You could do your stuff in-house, and there's a way I tell you that you can put it into payables and then go give them their net paycheck and still capture all this data in your books. But my very first line I want to focus in on is regular pay. I selected that category. And notice that the GL number that dropped in was the one I said I want his regular pay to go to the cabinet self-performing labor at the regular rate. That's what this GL number is for. And the department cabinets dropped in for this entry for this part of it. Notice I put in 30 hours and the $35 dropped in. I can change any of these to something different than what dropped in if I need to. So that totaled to 1,050 base, and that's the amount that will go to 3663. I want you to also know that I could do a plus line and I could do another line for regular pay and say, well, he worked 10 hours at a different job than I'm going to use, but I'm going to keep this simple and not have 2 and 3 jobs here. So let's see what happens when we go over here and actually select our job over here. Watch what other fields open up for us right here. Notice that suddenly we have a cost code filled in because it's detecting that you want something to go to job cost for this wages. And over here, we're saying we want, for job cost, we want things marked up 100%. That dropped in from how we set up the thing. So it's saying $2,100 will go to our work in progress account, which we call direct construction cost, $1,430 that we selected for that employee. And the credit for $2,100 that we have to post so that we can keep our books in balance is going to go to cabinets income. So does that make sense to you? CHS has also gone out and looked for a markup percent to mark this up. This 2,100 would be marked up for cost plus markup customers. It goes and looks to the job's budget, what markup percent is on this cost code, drops it in, so that when we do a cost plus draw here in just a little bit, you'll see that it supplies the 25% markup. So it's showing you that the total with the markup is $26.25 for this. CHS is going to use all of this information and make some separate entries in a journal entry that I'm going to show you in a minute as soon as I click submit. We have the lines for federal withholding, Social Security, and Medicare, and you can see that the employer side of the expense is being told, in this case for this guy, to go to cabinets payroll taxes so that we can keep that in the cabinets department and do a nice little income statement. Both of those are like that. And that dropped in because of how we set up the employee. So once you set up the employee and things drop in for you and you get to rolling on this, you'll get it. So I'm saying we're going to pay that out of construction. I don't know. It could be out of operating or some checking account you're keeping just for cabinet stuff. I don't know. Whatever you set up for your bank accounts. So let's go ahead and submit this. And let's see what CHS does with it. Oops, I forgot to put in. Since I'm making this up, I had to go see what 1.45% for Medicare would have been on my thing from the payroll stub, etc. So I've just put that in. I forgot to put it in before I click submit. So let's click submit again. And now what I'd like to do is show you the journal entry that CHS has created behind the scenes. I'm going to export it to PDF. This is a fast view that we open up called a web view, but it's a little easier to look at when you look at the PDF because it gets bigger and nicer. So what I'd like you to see is here's the net pay. That's the amount of the check coming out of the construction checking account that we showed you there. Here's direct construction costs of that $2,100, and notice the department is CH because that's the department that goes with this job, and it gave it a cost code so that it can all show nicely up on your job cost reports or draw requests, etc. And then we have all these things going to cabinet, which is things payable for the Social Security withheld and the employer side, and Medicare withheld and the employer side, and federal withholding payable, etc. all just being part of cabinet because that makes good for having a little trial balance for the cabinet department. And then we have down here cabinets income, which is a credit, which is what sales usually is a credit, and then the regular pay. So this is your income, this is your cost for the cabinets, and then these two employer side of the Medicare and Social Security are also being a cost for the cabinets. So I'd like to go show you something real quickly about that and where it shows up in some really cool places. So let's do that. Let's close and jump out here and go home and go to General Ledgers and Financials, which I already have opened up. And let's do, first of all, a little trial balance for that cabinet department. I already had it filled in as of today. I'm actually just going to use 2021 because I had to do that based on things that were happening for that Lubman job 2 years ago when I was demoing it, so we're using an older date. So here's a trial balance for the department. See how sharp CHS gets about that. And you'll see that we have the payable account showing what's still outstanding to pay for payroll taxes, for federal withholding for this department. Then we have the cabinets income, self-performing labor, cabinets payroll taxes, and the net of all those is the cash contributed by the department. Trial balances should total to 0, and sure enough it does. But let's go look at a little income statement for that. Income statement. And let's do the cabinet, and I already filled in. Let's do a couple of months of income statement for the cabinet. But let's do a department income statement. And you can see how $2,100 showed up, sales and revenues, cabinets income, less the labor we paid, less the amount of the payroll taxes. So right now we're sort of netting, as far as an income statement, $969 in our little cabinet department, even though it's sort of going roundabout and coming from ourselves. But we're going to be getting this $2,100 plus another little markup from our home buyer. So it is income. So that's what's happening with that. Hopefully you see how smart CHS is about that. But the big important thing is, let's go to the jobs dashboard for that job where I selected that job, and I can do all kinds of things for the job where I looked at the budget worksheet a while ago and the estimated cost of completion. But let's see what's showing up in our posted actual job cost database. And right down here, these are sorted by cost codes. So we have cabinets turnkey showing up for $2,100 as part of our job cost for Loveman 2. So let's close that. And let's just go do a draw request real quick and show you how you're going to be billing the customers for that. So I selected Loveman 2, cost plus markup. It's showing me that I've already done one draw for this amount on June 30th, and I'm about to do one that I'm going to date for July 31st here in a minute. And I'll show you how we'll get the cost detail behind the draw, and I'll show you the draw. But I'm going to do prepare new draw requests. I am going to cut it off as of July 31st, 2021 for bringing me in any costs. Now notice what it's doing. It's bringing up all actual posted costs that have not been drawn yet on a draw request. But it's getting ready to do draw number 2, and it has all these check marked to be included on the draw. And since it's a cost plus markup, this is the amount total that we would be drawing. And notice down here our cabinets turnkey. Here's the $2,100, but now it's getting a 25% markup because this is a cost plus 25% markup, so it's going to come in at $2,625 on our draw request. I'm going to continue to the draw worksheet after I've checked or unchecked what costs I want to be on it. And you can see ready to draw. You can see prior drawn. You can drill down on any of these to look at the actual costs and the total, of the costs. And if we get down to our cabinets, if I drill down on it, I'd see what's been posted in here, and it shows you the actual cost and the marked up amount, so you can see the stuff. You can see, that it came from Robert Jones Labor and that it was probably a payroll entry here. So I'm going to click this button to store, print, and post draw request, and I'll be right back. So now it is showing that we have done 2 draw requests, and here's the draw request for this amount. And if I open that PDF that was prepared by CHS. This PDF will depend on various styles that you select as you do it. You can actually get draw requests that are more of a summary of just by the group totals and not all the individual cost codes. It depends on what we selected. I selected to show each cost code line, and this text right here is whatever you set up to drop in to the top of draw requests when you do them, and it's showing the total I want from them. And then we're going all the way down here, and we're seeing cabinets turnkey come in. There's no prior drawn, but there's today what we're drawing for cabinets turnkey, and gives the total. And these draw requests also go down and show how much money we've received from them so far. Actually, paid voucher clearing is something CHS magically does if the buyer goes out and buys something, and then they get credited as a revenue from the customer and also get put to job costs. That's just a little aside there. So the other thing I want to show you and wow you for cost plus customers is the cost detail that you can get behind the draw request. You can show the cost detail at marked up amounts only, but usually cost plus markup customers get to know the original amount and the amount marked up. And maybe if I've uploaded any attachments to any of the bills that are on this, which means they would show up with short URLs in here where they could drill down and see the actual bill. I'll do the one with attachments, but I haven't uploaded any for these costs. But they would show up right here, and then you click on that and you can see the actual invoice from a cost of framing or whatever it is. So here we are. Here's $2,100, and here's the marked up amount on the draw request, and it totals to the draw request and gives them the detail. You can export it to PDF. You can store it where the home buyer could see it on their portal, etc. So that's pretty handy how fast you could do that without running around and getting all those stacks of costs to justify what the total of that draw request is. And of course, when you receive the money, you want to probably come back here and check mark the draw has been received. And there's a place to look up all draws that are not received yet so that you don't lose track of all that. I hope that helps. I hope that gives you a way when you have in-house labor and you're needing to charge it to jobs at a higher billable rate. I hope this helps give you a way to handle that. And thank you for watching.